The sound of piano keys echoed faintly through the empty penthouse, mingling with the soft hum of the city outside. Alexander Reed, a 36-year-old CEO of one of the fastest-growing tech companies in the country, stood in his suit by the tall windows watching his 8-year-old daughter Olivia stare at the silent grand piano. It had been her mother's favorite instrument. Since her passing 2 years ago, the piano had become more of a monument than a musical tool, untouched, gathering quiet dust in a home that looked perfect from the outside but was held together by fragile, unspoken grief. Alexander was a man used to control, strategy, and precision. But when it came to his daughter's happiness, he felt helpless. Her teachers came and went, none lasting long enough to spark light in her eyes again. Until one day, an unexpected email confirmed the arrival of a new music teacher, a highly recommended instructor, scheduled to start the following Monday. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the unexpected beauty life can bring, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe to The Gentle Truth. Your support helps these stories touch more hearts. When Monday came, the elevator doors opened to reveal a woman clutching a worn leather bag and holding the hand of a little boy about the same age as Olivia. Her name was Grace Miller. She wasn't dressed like the polished professional instructors Alexander usually hired. Her clothes were neat but simple, her shoes slightly scuffed. Her eyes, though, carried both exhaustion and warmth, the kind of eyes that had seen hard days but still managed to hold kindness. She apologized for being a few minutes late, something that instantly made Alexander's assistant raise an eyebrow. But there was something disarming about her presence. When she walked over to the piano, she didn't sit formally and demand scales. Instead, she gently invited Olivia to touch the keys again, as if speaking to the piano itself. Within minutes, a sound that hadn't filled that room in years floated through the air, hesitant at first, then growing steadier. Olivia's tiny smile returned, faint but real. What Alexander didn't know was that Grace was not the teacher he had originally hired. There had been a mix-up with names, a scheduling error that sent Grace, a part-time community music instructor and single mother, to his home instead of the prestigious academy tutor he had booked. She was there trying to piece together work to support her son, Noah, after her husband had abandoned them. She never planned to teach for someone like Alexander Reed, but when she saw the piano and Olivia's cautious eyes, something in her heart told her to stay. The following weeks unfolded like a slow sunrise. Grace's teaching methods were unlike anything Alexander had witnessed. She didn't demand perfection. She encouraged play. She brought simple sheet music, sang softly, and let Olivia explore music on her terms. Olivia began to laugh again during lessons, sometimes joined by Noah, who would sit beside her and play with toy instruments Grace carried to keep him busy. The penthouse, once sterile and quiet, began to fill with sounds of childhood again. For Alexander, these moments were both healing and unsettling. He was not used to vulnerability. He had built walls after his wife's passing, walls made of meetings, deadlines, and polished detachment. But every time he passed the music room and saw Grace patiently guiding Olivia's hands across the keys, those walls began to crack. Grace's life, however, was not without its struggles. She lived in a small apartment across town, working multiple part-time jobs, often skipping meals to make sure Noah had enough. She worried constantly that this job would end once the real teacher showed up. Yet she poured herself into every lesson, never expecting anything more than a paycheck. But one evening, as she was about to leave, Olivia ran after her and hugged her tightly, something she hadn't done with anyone since her mother died. Alexander watched from a distance, his heart twisting with emotions he couldn't name. One day, during an unexpected rainstorm, Grace arrived late, soaked, flustered, and with Noah shivering beside her. Her babysitter had canceled, the buses were delayed, and she had run through the rain just to make it to the lesson. Olivia, instead of retreating, ran to grab towels for them. Grace tried to apologize again, but Alexander saw something that hit him deeply. Despite everything, she showed up. No excuses, no complaints. That night, after the lesson, he offered to have his driver pick her and Noah up for future sessions. She hesitated, proud, independent, but eventually accepted with quiet gratitude. The turning point came when Olivia's school announced a parent-child music showcase. It was the first time Olivia wanted to participate. Grace helped her prepare tirelessly, even staying late some evenings while Noah did his homework in the corner. Alexander began to spend more time near the music room, quietly listening, sometimes joining in with hesitant claps or approving nods. He wasn't just watching his daughter heal. He was beginning to heal too. Grace's gentle presence filled spaces in his home that money never could. Then the truth came out. Alexander's assistant discovered the hiring error. The prestigious tutor finally called, confused about the missed sessions. Furious at first, Alexander confronted Grace, accusing her of deception. She stood there, humiliated but honest, explaining how she was just trying to make a living and never meant to mislead anyone. She offered to resign immediately. Olivia, overhearing the argument, burst into tears and begged her father not to let Grace go. In that moment, Alexander saw clearly. Grace hadn't just been teaching music. She had brought his daughter back to life. He apologized sincerely, something he didn't do often, and asked her to stay. The night of the music showcase arrived. Olivia, once the shy little girl staring at silent piano keys, walked on stage confidently. Grace stood backstage, hands clasped nervously, while Noah cheered loudly from the audience. Olivia played beautifully, her music flowing like a story of grief turning into light. When she finished, the crowd erupted in applause. Alexander stood with tears in his eyes, realizing this was more than music. It was a bridge between his broken heart and a new beginning. After the event, Alexander invited Grace and Noah to join them for dinner, not as employees, but as friends. Over time, what started as a mistake grew into something neither of them expected. Alexander saw in Grace not just a teacher, but a woman who carried quiet strength, the kind he had long forgotten existed. Grace found in Alexander not the cold CEO she'd imagined, but a man who, beneath the tailored suits, longed for real connection. Their children bonded like siblings, filling each other's empty spaces. Months later, Alexander told her something that made her eyes widen. He said that hiring her was never actually a mistake. It was the best accident of his life. Slowly, their lives intertwined. Olivia flourished in music, Noah thrived, and the penthouse that was once silent became a home filled with piano melodies, laughter, and family dinners. Grace's worn leather bag still hung by the door, a symbol of where it all began. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to The Gentle Truth. Special request. Comment below which part of this story moved you the most. Your words help these stories reach others who need a little hope in their lives.